What I'd like to know is, how do beliefs interact with virtual reality? When you're playing the virtual reality game and you allow things to manifest, and then an old belief, it goes back to when you used to say the stick, has both ends. Sometimes when something manifests, an old historical belief will manifest at the same time. That makes me be concerned, how can I maintain this, or will it turn out well? So how do you soften
Are you talking about manifesting in your visualization?
No, I'm talking about using virtual reality to be in a place of alignment and allowing. Then when the things you desire manifest, in response to seeing the manifestation, sometimes old beliefs come up at the same time.
You see what's happening? Your manifestations are coming in response to the balance of your vibration. So virtual reality process is part of that vibration. Memory is part of that vibration. What you're observing day to day is part of that vibration. So the reason that we're teaching the process of virtual reality is not just so that you can water down a negative balance and make it more positive. In other words, I have these beliefs that are negative, so I'll practice these positive thoughts in virtual reality, and then if I have 50 positive thoughts and 50 negative thoughts, now at least I'm a little neutral. That isn't what we mean at all. What we mean is, as you practice the virtual reality with an intention to feel good while you are finding these places and experiences, what happens is you begin to develop a vibrational tendency to vibrate there, which in time, if you stay with it, will cause you to vibrate so differently than some of those old past beliefs or past experiences that they will just not be part of your active vibration very much anymore.
So that when the manifestation shows up of things that you might have desired because you're now in a more allowing place, those old beliefs just won't be a match anymore.
They become deactivated. The easiest way to think about it is you can't activate things that feel good and things that feel bad at the same time. So as you are practicing deliberately activating things that feel good, before you know it, the things that feel bad will be further and further and further and further and further from your vibrational range, until in time you will not even be able to recall them. As you stand here, what's manifesting here and now is not just about the thoughts you're thinking here and now, while they do influence it, but it's about the patterns of thoughts that you've been thinking in the years, weeks, and days leading up. So now is as a result of what I have been thinking. But what's coming is as a result of what I have been thinking and what I am thinking. And what I am thinking in this powerful now is much, 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 much bigger than what I have been thinking, because your point of power is right now. You have the power to allow your well-being now or to disallow it now. Oh, that is so good. That is so good to know. In other words, right now is the juncture where I allow the circuit or not. It doesn't matter how many lights I've had plugged into my circuit in the past. What's happening now is about what I got plugged in right now. And so the reason that we want you to practice virtual realities is just so that more nows will feel like positive nows. Everything is happening right now in terms of letting it in or not letting it in.
So I don't need to be concerned that old beliefs may show up when something manifests.
Well, so if it does, just reach for the thought that feels best. Just take the path of least resistance. We're not saying to you that a few positive thoughts are going to erase every negative belief that you've ever had, but we will say these positive thoughts will feel better to you, and if you care about how you feel, you might start directing your thoughts more there. In other words, you can feel how a thought feels. You can feel how a thought feels. All we're talking about is focusing here. We're just talking about wanting so much to feel good that you're willing to focus a thought. Esther has no problem at all when she is in that 42-foot monster bus with a tow car behind, wailing down the freeway with trucks and cars all around her. She has no problem with the idea that she should focus. She doesn't quibble. She doesn't say, well, I should be able to set it on cruise and leave the driver's seat. She doesn't say, well, I should be able to tie my shoe, or I should be able to look at the ceiling for a while and see if there's a crack in it. She doesn't have any problem understanding that it would be prudent to direct her attention to the task at hand. And what we are suggesting is it would always be prudent to want to feel good and to direct your thoughts to the task at hand. And so as Esther is driving and Jerry is reading or sleeping, and so Esther's mind is moving, and then she begins thinking about her mother or about the call that she had with her sister, and she begins to feel that sort of uncomfortable feeling move through her. Now she is sensitive enough to it in those early stages that she can redirect her thought, just like she would turn if something got in the way on the road. She can redirect her thought to a path that is more conducive to where she knows she wants to go. And there are endless choices. In other words, there are endless choices that feel good, just like there are endless choices that feel bad. But once you start playing with virtual reality so that you can show yourself that you can direct thought, now you have more power in every now. You can direct your thought. It's a delicious thing to realize.
It's about making it a much bigger priority.
We would make it the priority. Nothing is more important than that I feel good. Because when I feel good, I'm connected to God force. When I feel good, I'm allowing all that is good. When I feel good, I am fulfilling my reason for being here. When I feel good, I'm connected to the source and I have something to give others. It goes on and on and on and on and on. There's no downside to feeling good. Not one. Sometimes what's going on around you and where you are very intricately combined. But when you say, it is so important that I feel good that I'm going to look for something that allows me to feel good. So if I can't look around where I am for something that feels good, then I can look in the past or I can look in the future. But we don't see any now that you couldn't look around and find something to feel good about if you wanted to, but sometimes it's easier to go to the past or to go to the future. And frankly, it does not matter. It doesn't matter if you go past, present, or future. It only matters that you find something that lets the energy flow. That's sort of like saying, I'm choking for oxygen, and someone walks up to you and hands you an oxygen mask, and you say, I prefer fresh air. And we say, well, for now, we'd take the mask if we were standing in your shoes. Once you've got that, then you can make your next plan. But for now, whatever it takes, just take whatever it takes. And we don't mean to make it sound like your life is so threatened. We're trying to dramatize it enough that you will realize that it is important to reach for that path of least resistance, because there's no point in cutting the oxygen off further. And that's what sometimes you do. You're in a jam where it doesn't feel good, and then instead of reaching for a thought of less resistance, you choose a thought of more resistance, and then you choose another thought of more resistance. And you're not doing it just because you're a masochist. You're doing it because law of attraction provides those thoughts to you. Wherever you're vibrating, those are the thoughts that are easier. But sometimes you have to have some strong determination. No, I don't want to think these thoughts. I don't want to keep going there. Why? Because it doesn't feel good. And anything that feels this bad at this point is going to only feel worse as it goes on further. And because I have choices. I can choose a thought that feels better. And the more you do it, in virtual reality, in all kinds of games, reaching for positive aspects, getting on rampages of appreciation, it is a very wonderful thing to start flexing the muscles of your mind. And we notice that sometimes physical humans, especially in your environment, don't flex your mind muscles very much. You go to a movie and watch what somebody else wants to project to you. And you go wherever they've decided to take you, and they're good at it. They have these visual and auditory effects that actually transport you to those feeling places, and you're so willing to go there. And we would not be so willing to go there. We would want to be more in control of the way we feel. And so we'd watch movies like Esther does. She can tell by the music where it's going. When the music turns bad, she turns it off. And sometimes if she's interested, she'll turn it back on to see if the music got happy again. And we would do the same sort of thing with our own thought process. When it starts turning sour, we would reach for something else.
Because I've noticed that a couple of years ago, a minor thing happened in business, and that I put attention on it to thinking I would fix it. And I noticed it's just a minor thing, but it's an annoyance. And I've noticed it spread to other places to the point where I'm really clear I created it. But it's almost like it takes a concerted effort to take myself out of that. It's like a loop.
You all have different thresholds of the discomfort that you are willing to endure. And we would have a very low threshold on that. We would want so much to feel good that we just would not be willing to go very far into a thought that does not feel good. Because while you can endure a lot of things, and on the surface it looks like nothing is happening, you are setting yourself up for repercussions later, where when you deprive yourself of well-being, the deprivation shows up in a lot of ways. Just like when you hold yourself in vibrational compliance with well-being, the well-being shows up in a lot of different ways. Jerry and Esther got a late start as they were leaving, and it sort of got them off on a sort of aggravated foot. And then the awning on the coach wouldn't go in. It was out, but when they pushed the button, it wouldn't go in, and they can't very well drive down the freeway with the awning out. So then Jerry had to get out the contraption that brings it in manually, which is not a pleasant thing. It made his arms very tired to hold them up over his head for a while. And at the same moment, Esther is inside because one of the file drawers that has a button in it that makes it stay in while they drive wouldn't stay in. So she's got a screwdriver and she's taking it apart. And then when Jerry came in, Esther said, "What more could go wrong?" Those were her exact words. What more could go wrong? So as they're sitting there at the side of the freeway, trying to decide what to do next, those words were sort of ringing through Esther's mind. And she began to laugh, and she said to Jerry, "That's probably not something that I should ask on a really regular basis." And neither of them would try to convince you that they were in the most positive frame of mind right before all of this happened. In other words, as things began unfolding, they know that it is a vibrational match. You just can't be rushed. You just can't be in a frenzy. You just can't feel like you don't have enough time to do the things that you need to do without things manifesting that slow you down more. Everything comes in response to the way you feel. But isn't it nice that you have this universe that mirrors your vibrational nature, so that when things start unfolding differently than you want, you say, time for me to start directing my thought. And that's what you just said to us. Sometimes you can be sloppy in your thought and not even know you are until something manifests, and then you say, it's sort of like driving in the ditch. While Jerry is driving yesterday, Esther was sort of napping on the sofa, and the little bumps along the side of the road going, and Esther says, "Everything all right up there?" She can tell Jerry's off the road. He's on the bumps. She wants to know why. "Everything all right up there?" "All is well," he says. Esther said, "Do you want me to drive?" She thinks sometimes he does that just to wake her up, so that you can tell when you're in the ditch. There are all kinds of warnings that let you know, time to refocus, time to redirect your thoughts.
It's really about starting to own that I'm the one in charge, that I'm the one with the power in my life. Because when these things occur, the response usually is, someone out there has power in my life and I need to find a way to deal with it.
And here is what we want to keep bringing you back to remembering. Well-being is yours. Well-being is flowing to you, and it is manifesting in all ways unless you have these little hindrances that are not letting it flow. And so when you start feeling overwhelmed, when you start feeling put upon, when you start feeling taken advantage of, then you're pinching yourself off. And then it starts manifesting in those ways. It's like the entire universe says, that's the way you feel, so that's the way it is. We would like you to let those words ring through your mind. The universe is saying to you, that's the way you feel, so that's the way it is. So you say, I feel prosperous. That's the way you feel, so that's the way it is. You say, I feel healthy. That's the way you feel, so that's the way it is. And you say, well, I'm faking that one. I don't feel that prosperous and I don't feel that happy, but I want to. And the universe says, that's the way you feel and that's the way it is. We would go to those virtual realities. Virtual reality process says, pick a place that you think you will feel good when you get there. And pick a time of year that you think you would feel good if you were there, and the time of day and the temperature in the air. And put people in the picture that you think you would feel good if they were there. And once you all get together, play for a little bit and feel the feeling of it and then leave the scene. That's what virtual reality is. And the whole point of it is to feel a way that you want to feel on purpose, because the universe says, if that's the way you feel, then that's the way it is. The universe doesn't say, You're just faking it in a virtual reality. That's not really the way your life is. The source doesn't say that's the way it is, so that's the way it must continue to be. However you feel is what the universe is responding to.